Buenos días a todas las personas que nos acompañan. Les damos la bienvenida a la Semana Inspirar para Transformar, que se realiza en el marco de la entrega del Premio Nacional Monte de Piedad 2020. A lo largo de la semana, contaremos con la participación de ponentes de primer nivel, como son Lynne Twist, Rita Segato, Pérez Tupiña, Pablo Pineda, el doctor Alfredo Quiñones, Dr. Q. Estamos seguros que serán fuente de inspiración para todos. Agradezco a Emilio Puertas del Instituto Pedagógico para Problemas del Lenguaje por la interpretación del lenguaje de señas. Es un honor para mí dar la palabra a nuestro director general, el ingeniero Javier de la Calle, para que nos dirija un mensaje de bienvenida.
Me da mucho gusto su presencia en esta primera actividad de nuestra semana Inspirar para Transformar, misma que culminará el viernes con la entrega anual de los Premios Monte. Agradezco a todos nos acompañen. Doy la bienvenida a representantes de organizaciones de la sociedad civil, a académicos y a filántropos interesados en las temáticas que se abordarán. Bienvenidos también quienes son parte de las instituciones a las que apoyamos con recursos de inversión social, a nuestros clientes y empleados que hoy nos acompañan y a los miembros de nuestro patronato. Me congratulo también que nos acompañen medios de comunicación. Me entusiasma inaugurar esta semana de premiación en la que reconoceremos a algunas de las organizaciones de la sociedad civil que conocemos y que nos consta que tienen intervenciones sociales que resuelven problemas de fondo y que lo hacen desde una perspectiva de derechos humanos y con resultados de desarrollo sostenible. Confiamos en que, al premiarlas, las instituciones inspiren a otras para que éstas a su vez se transformen y apoyen de forma más eficaz a quienes viven en situación de vulnerabilidad. Dadas las circunstancias en las que hoy vivimos, el trabajo eficaz de todas estas organizaciones es especialmente pertinente. Nacional Monte de Piedad es una institución financiera sin fines de lucro que nació hace 245 años con la finalidad y responsabilidad de contribuir al desarrollo de la sociedad mexicana. El mandato de ayudar a quien lo necesite lo hemos llevado a cabo a través del préstamo prendario, ofreciendo las mejores condiciones y una tasa de mercado muy competitiva. Todos los días, Nacional Monte de Piedad ofrece miles de créditos a familias que buscan mejorar sus condiciones de vida. Ayudar a quien lo necesite es nuestra esencia. Año con año otorgamos 10 millones de préstamos en nuestra red de 320 sucursales. Fieles al mandato de ser una institución perpetua, debemos generar remanentes para seguir creciendo y poder prestar más, pero también para ayudar a otras instituciones a cumplir con sus mandatos. Esto es posible gracias al círculo virtuoso de ayuda. Las familias que reciben nuestros préstamos hacen un gran esfuerzo para pagarlos y saben que parte de los intereses que les cobramos se otorgan como donativos a intervenciones sociales que resuelven problemas sociales que no les son ajenos. Son así los mismos ciudadanos quienes a través de organizaciones de la sociedad civil ayudan con sus recursos y con su empeño a otros ciudadanos. Este es un verdadero círculo virtuoso. Hoy el mundo vive un momento crucial de transición. La pandemia y su impacto en la vida económica y social están acelerando los grandes cambios tecnológicos, pero también están acentuando brechas sociales y la desigualdad al aumentar de manera extraordinaria las familias que viven en pobreza. Esto nos obliga a redoblar esfuerzos de movilización y coordinación entre los diferentes actores de la sociedad para seguir generando soluciones en favor de quienes más lo necesitan. En este sentido, estamos conscientes de que nuestro país requiere de un sector social responsable, que rinda cuentas y que fomente el desarrollo sostenible y el ejercicio pleno de los derechos humanos de todos los individuos. México tiene grandes retos, algunos más complejos que otros. Para resolverlos, es preciso reconocer que el progreso y el desarrollo humano son una labor que recae en todos y cada uno de nosotros. Y por ello, ahora más que nunca, la sociedad civil debe trabajar unida y en beneficio de los que menos tienen. Para lograrlo, esperamos que aquellas instituciones que reciban el Premio Monte inspiren a otras a dar lo mejor de sí para transformar al país. Confío que esta semana de premiación y de reflexión en diversos temas que a todos nos atañen sea también un reconocimiento a todas las organizaciones de la sociedad civil en México. Todas ellas cuentan con Nacional Monte de Piedad para seguir construyendo un México mejor. A nosotros, su comprometida labor nos inspira, nos impulsa a seguir cumpliendo nuestro mandato. Nuevamente, muchas gracias por su presencia. Confío les serán muy útiles las actividades que tendremos durante toda esta semana.
Continuamos con un mensaje de bienvenida de parte de Marisol Fernández, directora de Inversión Social de Nacional Monte de Piedad.
Muy buenos días a todas las personas que nos acompañan el día de hoy. Es un privilegio que estén con nosotros. Como ya lo comentó nuestro director general, en Nacional Monte de Piedad, desde hace 245 años, nuestra misión es ayudar a quien lo necesite. Y desde Inversión Social es posible cumplirla gracias a nuestra alianza con más de 600 organizaciones de la sociedad civil que trabajan para restituir los derechos de más de 1.6 millones de personas al año. El motivo de reunirnos esta semana es para celebrar el extraordinario trabajo que estas organizaciones realizan y reflexionar sobre los problemas sociales que nos plantea el siglo XXI. Porque a pesar de estos grandes esfuerzos, los desafíos de nuestro país son cada vez mayores en cuanto a desigualdad y pobreza. A esto se suman nuevos retos para la salud y la economía, especialmente de las personas más vulnerables, producto de COVID-19. Dado lo anterior, la necesidad de construir un futuro más justo y resiliente para todas las personas, sin dejar a nadie atrás como lo marca la Agenda 2030, se convierte en un llamado urgente a una acción social más profunda, organizada, mejor planeada y con mayores alcances. Las intervenciones sociales deben ser transparentes, orientadas a resultados y capaces de medir su impacto, y deben buscar restituir los derechos humanos de las poblaciones que apoyan para generar desarrollo sostenible. En los últimos años, en Nacional Monte de Piedad, hemos transformado nuestro modelo de inversión social en sincronía con lo anterior y ponemos al servicio de todos aquellos a los que les pueda ser útil nuestra metodología para la evaluación y seguimiento de proyectos de las organizaciones de la sociedad civil con las que trabajamos. Además, buscamos sumar esfuerzos con otros aliados, fundaciones y empresas, porque estamos conscientes de que las alianzas y la colaboración son fundamentales para la solución de los problemas públicos y para generar cambios sistémicos. Hemos avanzado mucho, pero todavía hay un tramo importante que recorrer. Estamos convencidos de que todos podemos ser parte del cambio, de que es posible sentirse partícipes del desarrollo de nuestras comunidades y de que es posible aumentar la cantidad de recursos humanos y financieros para transformar de fondo nuestro país y construir una sociedad próspera para todos. Para hablar de todo esto y para inaugurar esta semana Inspirar para Transformar, es un honor dar la bienvenida a nuestra invitada del día de hoy, Lynne Twist. A partir de este momento, la plática será en inglés, pero por favor recuerden que contamos con traducción simultánea al español. La liga para la sesión traducida se está proyectando en este momento en el chat de la sección de preguntas y respuestas. Al final tendremos unos minutos para responder sus preguntas, por lo que los invito a que las escriban a través del chat habilitado para esto. At Monte de Piedad,
We are truly honored to have Lynne Twist join us in the inauguration of our week, Inspired to Transform. Lynne Twist is the founder of the Soul of Money Institute and author of the best-selling book, The Soul of Money, Transforming Your Relationship with Money and Life. Over the past 40 years, Lynne has worked with over 100,000 people in 50 countries. Among others, she has worked with Microsoft, Procter & Gamble, United Way, and Harvard University. She has been a featured speaker for the United Nations Beijing Women's Conference, the State of the World Forum, and the Synthesis Dialogues with His Holiness the Dalai Lama, among others. Lynne is the recipient of the prestigious Woman of Distinction Award from the United Nations. Welcome, Lynne. Thank you very much for being here with us. The floor is yours.
Oh, my goodness. Thank you so much for inviting me and including me in this very important week in Mexico. I'm very honored to be the opening keynote. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Marisol and everyone involved with Nacional Monte de Piedad and this award. I also am grateful to the contacts that I have in Mexico through Comunidad in Monterrey and around the country that are doing so much wonderful work to empower people to engage in civil society, in philanthropy. Event virtually. I know that normally we would be gathering, we would be in the same venue, we would be able to feel each other's energy, we would be able to embrace and shake hands. And because of COVID, everything now has become this experience of looking at a screen, of connecting over miles and miles and miles and kilometers, connecting in ways that we didn't imagine would be our whole world. So I want to begin by acknowledging you for showing up for this event. This methodology, this technology makes it possible for many more of us to gather than if we were physically together. At the same time, we miss that physical connection, that experience of feeling the love, the relatedness, the camaraderie that's so important to life. And I want to just say that the people who run these technologies that make it possible for us to stay connected while we're sheltering at home, keeping ourselves safe from the virus and ensuring that we can get through this very difficult passage in a way that the fewest number of people suffer and the fewest number of people are infected or come to a place where they lose their lives. And I'll just say, for those of you who have been sick with the virus, for those of you who have lost a loved one, my heart goes out to you. At the same time, I want to honor the circumstances that we find ourselves in, that we have been mandated by this virus, this breakdown, this very difficult, unprecedented, unexpected situation to go home to our houses, to go home to our families, to go home to ourselves, and to rethink who we are at this point in civilization and society. I want to honor and actually mark that this capacity, this mandate, these circumstances that made us go home have made us rethink who we are in relation to culture, to all of humanity, to our own country, to our own way of life, whether you live in Mexico or in the United States as I do. This time, this pause, this disruption has created an opportunity to reset, reimagine, rethink, recreate, renew, revitalize, rehabilitate, and recreate our world. What is the world we want? What is the civilization we really are craving for? Perhaps this virus, perhaps this frightening and unexpected disruption is in some way what we've been longing for, in a way yearning for, an interruption that would help us stop going in a direction that's harmful to the earth, that's harmful to many, many millions and millions of people, living in a way that marginalizes so many of us and moves financial resources up towards the top, held on to only a few of us who are fortunate enough to be born into or to be fortunate enough to earn a great deal more than we need. And so our unequal society has been revealed, has been unconcealed by the virus, and the desperate needs of so many human beings is now laid bare for all of us to see. I really begin my talk with this recognition to say that this is an unusual year, and this year that I've been given the opportunity to launch this conference, I want to have us consider the possibility that the virus is not a punishment for the human family. The virus could be, in many ways, an ally to the human family to find a new path, rather than continue to accumulate and acquire and make certain graphs go up while other graphs go down. Maybe the virus is helping us as an ally to stop and retool and rethink the way we're living. There's a wonderful psychologist, philosopher, spiritual teacher in the United States. Her name is Byron Katie. She says, perhaps this is not happening to us, perhaps it is happening for us. And if we think of the virus and the pandemic and all the crises that it's bringing, economic, political, education, crises in the climate, of course, were already there, but now this makes it more evident. All of these crises, especially the crisis of inequality, if we think of this virus as happening for us rather than to us, if we think of ourselves as not victims, but actually the recipients of a huge, powerful teaching, perhaps how we come through this and out of this will be transformational. I know that the topic here is transformation, inspiration, and winning. How can we come out of this in a way that everybody wins? Everything is better. One of the things that I speak about in my book, The Soul of Money, and one of the things I speak about when I give talks, like the one I'm doing now about the soul of money, comes from many, many, many years working in more than 50 countries on fundraising and philanthropy. I've learned my lesson from life, working with money, both on the fundraising side. I've trained 50,000 fundraisers in 50 countries, or in the philanthropic side where I've worked with some of the world's wealthiest families, some actually in Mexico, on the reallocation of their resources towards the highest good. And those lessons, those teachings, fundraising for me was holy work. It is the facilitation of the reallocation of financial resources away from overconsumption, away from the destruction of the environment, away from marginalization of millions of people, and take those same resources that have gone in that direction really in service of fear, reallocate those same resources in service of what we love, the health and well-being of our families, the health and well-being of our communities, the health and well-being of our culture, the health and well-being of our environment, our world, and the health and well-being of all children of all species for all time. I've raised hundreds of millions of dollars and helped organizations, families, institutions increase and expand the reallocation of their resources away from accumulation and fear towards that which we love, that kind of generosity that comes from the spirit of knowing we're not alone on this planet. We are one with every other living thing. And we live in a mindset, what I consider to be a false mindset, a mindset perpetrated by the money system, by the commercial culture, by the money culture, that says that we are always in some sort of condition of scarcity. There's not enough to go around. Someone somewhere is always going to be left out. This mindset of there's not enough, a kind of unconscious, unexamined, blind belief that there's not enough to go around, has some of us who have the capacity to do so accumulate way more than we need, often at the expense of many, many other people, knowing that someday we'll help them when we have more than enough, is a mindset of scarcity. That mindset of scarcity also proliferates a belief that more is always better. More of anything is better. More of everything is better. More square feet in our home, more homes, more this, more that, more things. The accumulation of things, thinking that that will fill a kind of emptiness that we have inside, which is a kind of result of the scarcity mindset that has us think there's not enough to go around, there's not enough love, there's not enough time, there's not enough money, there's not enough of anything. In fact, we start thinking we are not enough ourselves. And then we try to fill up that emptiness with acquisitions, with accumulation, with trying to have more of everything. And this more is better, more of anything is better, is an unconscious, unexamined mindset that's wreaking havoc on the environment and wreaking havoc on the human family. And the third thing that I think is part of this mindset, I call it the lie of scarcity, the toxic myths that make up a mindset of scarcity. It's part of the consumer culture, the commercial culture, the money culture. Those toxic myths are three. One, the belief there's not enough to go around, and somewhere someone's going to be left out, and we have to make sure it's not our people, whoever we consider our people to be. Number two, more is better, more of anything, everything is better, more of this, more of that, in a way that accumulation and acquisition is way out of control. And number three, that's just the way that it is. That's the third toxic myth. That's just the way that it is, and there's nothing we can do about it, so we just have to go along. So the three toxic myths that I want to highlight that are part of our culture everywhere in the world, in Mexico, in the United States, in France, in Germany, in Japan, in Korea, in all over the world, this belief that there's not enough to go around, more is better, and that's just the way that it is. Three toxic myths have us behave often inconsistent with our humanity. Have us try to be known for what we accumulate rather than what we allocate. Have us living in fear and greed and scarcity rather than in generosity, sufficiency, and abundance. And it's my contention, my belief, that there's a different truth, what I call a radical, surprising truth, a way of seeing the world where you lift the veil of the mindset of scarcity, where you let go of the fear that you won't have enough, where you release that lens, where we look through life as if there's not going to be enough to go around and we have to take as much as we can right now, and let that idea go and begin to pay close attention, love, and appreciation for what we already have. And that is what I call the radical, surprising truth. So let me go back and say, first, I want to say that I think we all live in an unconscious, unexamined mindset that I call the lie of scarcity. Inside that lie of scarcity, that condition of thinking, there are three toxic myths. Number one, we actually unconsciously believe there's not enough to go around, that somewhere, somehow, somebody's going to be left out, and we want to make sure it's not us or the people that we consider we're responsible for. So we accumulate way more than we need, thinking someday we'll help those that are left out, but first we have to accumulate as much as we possibly can. That's toxic myth number one. Toxic myth number two is more is better. More of anything, everything is better. Advertising and marketing is very effective in having us absolutely believe we need more of everything. I'll just say one of the poster industries for that in my country, the United States, is that we have massive homeless situation in the United States. Homelessness is a huge problem. Yet we're not building houses for the homeless people. We're building houses for our stuff. We're creating storage cities for our stuff that we can't fit into the houses we already have. Storage is a huge industry in the United States. And when you think about what storage is, it's creating housing, habitation for our stuff that we can't fit in the houses we already have. So that's toxic myth number two. More is better, an unconscious, unexamined belief that more of anything and everything is better. And the third toxic myth is that's just the way that it is. And that's the source of resignation, of giving up, of people just swimming in stuff and having no relationship with their inner life, only a relationship with their outer riches, trying to accumulate more and more and more to fill an emptiness inside. In the United States, we have the largest deficit in the history of the world. In many ways, that's an accurate reflection of a culture that only values outer riches and has no space to even dive into the beauty, the glory, the richness of our inner riches. So what do we do about that? This lie of scarcity in which we all swim, that's part of the culture that we live in every country in the world, including Mexico. If you can just let go of that mindset just for a moment, which we do when we see a baby born, which we do when we see a sunset or a sunrise. There's moments where we have exactly what we need, where we have enough. And I say that that is the radical, surprising truth about life. The radical, surprising truth about life, in my view, is that we have enough, we are enough, there is enough. That humanity with technology like the technology we're using right now to be in communication is doing so much more with so much less. And that is the direction of our innovation. That is the direction of our genius. That is the direction of our science. That is the direction of our inventiveness. That Buckminster Fuller, a great teacher of mine, 50 years ago said humanity's doing so much more with so much less, and we will continue to do that in our science, in our innovation, in our technology, that we clearly live now in a world where there is enough for everyone, everywhere, to have a healthy and productive life. That's the truth about life. Not scarcity, but sufficiency. Enough. And sufficiency is distinct from abundance. Abundance in a mindset of scarcity is more than you need. Abundance is excess. Abundance is landfill. Abundance is storage units in the mindset of scarcity. I'll come back to abundance in a moment. But abundance in the mindset of sufficiency, which I call the radical surprising truth, sufficiency, enough, is a different thing. Let's go and look at enough. What does that mean? To have your needs met by the universe over and over and over again. If we look carefully at our lives, we've always gotten exactly what we need. We've always been taken care of, sometimes in ways that were harsh, sometimes in ways that we didn't want. Sometimes exactly what we needed was a cancer diagnosis, and that diagnosis made us rethink our entire life, made us really value every breath we took, have us recognize how important our family is to us, have us recognize the preciousness of time. Sometimes exactly what we need has been a divorce or a breakup, something that hurt, that's been devastating and tragic in the moment. But then later on, we look back and see that that divorce or that breakup had us see really how strong, able, and independent we actually can be. So I'm saying that we get exactly what we need from the universe. And sometimes it's not at all what we want. But the universe is friendly. The universe is a teacher. The universe is a blessing. And I say that if we look at the distinction enough as getting exactly what we need, and the world being there for us, and if we appreciate what we have, if we pay attention to what we have, if we nourish what we have, not what we think we want, but what we have, it expands. I call this the principle of sufficiency. And this is probably the most important thing that I can say. The principle of sufficiency is this. If you let go of trying to get more of what you don't really need, it frees up oceans of energy that are all tied up in that chase to turn and pay attention to what you already have. When you pay attention to what you already have, it expands. So let me say that again. If you let go of trying to get more of what you don't really need, which is what we're brainwashed to want more of, it frees up oceans of energy all tied up in that chase to turn and pay attention to what you already have. When you pay attention to what you already have, when you nourish what you already have, when you make a difference with what you already have, and when you share what you already have, it expands before your very eyes. Another way of saying this is what you appreciate appreciates. What you appreciate appreciates. So now let me come back to abundance. Abundance is the overflowing experience of having enough. I say you can't really get to true abundance except going through the lens, the portal, the aperture, the doorway of enough. If you go through the doorway of more, you end up eventually with lack, and you need more again. And you go through the doorway of more, it's satisfying for a moment, but then you end up with lack, and you need more again. However, if you dwell in the distinction of enough, of sufficiency, of appreciating what you already have, of making a difference with what you already have, of sharing what you already have, then that experience of sharing is the experience of true abundance. It's the overflowing of abundance. So I'm going to tell you a metaphor. I have a wonderful teacher whose name is Brother David Steindl-Rast. He's 92 years old. He's a beautiful, beautiful monk. He has literally no possessions. He's been a monk for more than 60 years, and he's an icon of gratefulness, of gratefulness. And Brother David once came and sat with me in my home, and I asked him, what's the difference between gratitude and gratefulness? And I don't know if this will work in Spanish, but hopefully a lot of you speak English and you'll understand this. Brother David said, gratitude has two great branches. One is gratefulness, the other is thanksgiving. Gratefulness is the experience of life when the bowl of life is so full that it's almost overflowing, but not quite. The bowl of life is so full that it's bowed at the top, but not yet dribbling over the edges. That's the experience of the great fullness of life. The great fullness of life when you're one with God, one with the universe, and there is no other. And that is so fulfilling that the bowl of life overflows. And that puts you in the other branch of gratitude, the branch of gratitude called thanksgiving. And when you're in the branch of gratitude called thanksgiving, the bowl of life is constantly overflowing. And you're so fulfilled by that you're so thrilled to discover there's an other. So all you want to do is to share, to contribute, to serve. And that's so fulfilling, it puts you in the other branch of gratitude, gratefulness. And so I invite you to imagine that this is sufficiency and this is abundance. When you're in that experience of enough, it overflows into natural abundance. And all you want to do is give and serve and share. So it's my great privilege to be someone who mirrors back to people their enoughness so that they can pay attention to it, nourish it, and then share it and become even greater philanthropist. Philanthropy means love of humankind. It is an expression of love. The more philanthropy grows in your country and in mine, the more love there is. And now during COVID, this is so critical. I urge you, I invite you, I encourage you to expand your philanthropy, double, triple, quadruple it. I am so proud to be at the beginning of this extraordinary week, to invite you to use this week as a pathway to expanding your philanthropy as never before, and to take care of your culture, your society, your civilization, your country, your world with the overflowing abundance that is part of who you are. So thank you for the opportunity to address you. And now we'll do some questions and answers. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lynne. There are more than 500 people in the audience, and we have many questions. Yeah. So I will try to group the questions in 2 or 3 sets. The first questions are, Mariana asks, in recent years, we have seen very relevant leaders that have joined important initiatives such as the Giving Pledge. What effect does this have in the world of philanthropy? Is there a role model effect? From Agustin, the second one, in Mexican tradition, there is a common saying, Do not let your right hand know what the left one does. And for this reason, some people do not show what they are doing to benefit their community. How this relates with the trouble with charity and the helping hand you talk about in your book. And the last one in this set, in your book you say that collaboration creates prosperity and that there are no haves and have-nots. Could you explain what this means?
Oh, my goodness. Okay. Well, thank you for those questions. The first one, I think the Giving Pledge has made a huge impact in the world and in my country, and I hope in yours, demonstrating that people who have accumulated way more than anyone could possibly spend in their lifetime are really almost mandated and required to make sure that the whole world benefits from their good fortune. And I think the Giving Pledge is a spectacular and incredible inspiration by Bill and Melinda Gates and Warren Buffett and other people who have done that. And I know many families who have realized that to save everything to pass on to their children, grandchildren, and legacy is to rob it from the society that those children, those grandchildren will live in, and to make the world a better place for them rather than give them the money to protect them from that world is a huge act not only of generosity, but of profound wisdom and profound responsibility. So I love the Giving Pledge. Secondly, the left and the right hand, if I understand the question, it may be that you're talking about investments on one side and philanthropy on another, and are they aligned? Are the investments doing the damage that your philanthropy needs to clean up? Or are your investments actually impact, sustainable investments that are consistent with your philanthropy so that the right hand and the left hand are working together? That is the way I think we all need to go. I think we really need to re-examine where money is flowing, not only philanthropic money, but also investment money, so that we're not causing the problems with our investments that our philanthropy needs to clear up. Or that question might mean, do we give anonymously? I'm all for this is my view, is being not visible in a way that you need a plaque or a monument or a statue to acknowledge yourself, but visible in a way that inspires other people to do what you're doing. So anonymity works for some people, and I can't argue with that. That's a personal choice. But on the other hand, the Giving Pledge is an example of being bold and visible and public about your generosity in a way that inspires others. And then the third question, I believe that the 20th century was about charity, but the 21st century is about solidarity. And solidarity is different than charity. It's not feeling sorry for anyone. It's not pitying anyone. It is partnering with people. I worked for the Hunger Project for many, many years. And in the hunger response community, we used to see ads on television that had starving babies with flies in their eyes and bloated bellies that made you feel so guilty that you gave money because you felt sorry for those children. I think that's the 20th century charity that did its work, but now I don't think that's healthy any longer. I think we need to see, as I do, that people living in circumstances of poverty are some of the most courageous, strong, creative, amazing, intelligent, resilient people on this planet. They're not weak, they're strong. It's their circumstances that are tragic. It's their circumstances that are poor, not them. They're not poor. You can't call a human being poor. A human being is resilient, particularly people living in terrible circumstances. They become unbelievably strong just to survive. So with the Hunger Project, we used to say, and I think they do still say at the Hunger Project, there's not a billion hungry people to feel sorry for or to pity. No, there's a billion strong, courageous, amazingly resilient people standing and working at the front lines of ending world hunger. And it's our privilege to join them. Solidarity, not charity, is the future I think we want.
Thank you, Lynne. Gabriela asked, how can a person in extreme poverty develop his or her gratefulness and creation muscle? From Monica, which are the biggest challenges people face during their transition from scarcity to sufficiency? Which is the best way to start developing philanthropy?
Okay. Well, I think people in extreme poverty, my experience of them, and I have traveled a great deal in this world. And when you really sit down with people living in extreme poverty, often they're the first to offer you food or share what they have or give you a place to sleep or have you sit at their table. To me, there's a generosity of spirit when people are living in extreme poverty that's sometimes greater than what those of us who are so fortunate have. And I find that no matter what, we can be grateful. And I've found, particularly I'm thinking now in Africa, women and men, but particularly women who've been oppressed, who've been beaten, who've been raped, who've been in war, who've been hungry, who've been suppressed, can find joy and gratitude in the smallest thing. So just to breathe is to be grateful. Brother David Stendal-Rast, the man that I quoted in my talk, is an icon of gratefulness. And anyone who has access to the internet can go to gratefulness.org and read about Brother David and some of the things he recommends. But we can be grateful for just breath. We can be grateful for a drop of water. We can be grateful for the sunshine. All of us can. We can be grateful for the colors that we see when we look out through our eyes. Gratitude is always waiting for our acknowledgement. And gratefulness and gratitude is instantly transforming of your circumstances. So yes, people in extreme poverty can be grateful. And in my experience, are grateful. And sometimes way more grateful than the rest of us who take so much for granted. The second question, the transition from scarcity to sufficiency, it's not a pill. It's not an injection. It's a practice. And we're always practicing something, whether we know it or not. Our habits, even our bad habits, are a kind of practice that strengthen the pathways in our brain. But if we transform bad habits into practices that are conscious, like practicing gratitude every single day, practicing generosity every single day, practicing speaking about what we love every single day, practicing being in touch with the sufficiency, the beauty, the enough-ness of life every single day and speaking about it, journaling about it. It helps you anchor your capacity to dwell in sufficiency, because scarcity is everywhere. Every message that advertising and marketing puts out there, and people do that very, very well. Good for you if you're in marketing and advertising. Constantly tell us that there's not enough, it's not enough, we're not enough. So it's very difficult to escape it. You need to practice dwelling in a conversation that you generate of enoughness, of gratitude, of really appreciation. And if you consciously generate those conversations, which we have total power over, we don't have power over the circumstances, but we have power over our speaking, our conversation about the circumstances. If you practice that kind of conversation, you can dwell in the space of sufficiency. And then the third question, I can't remember. I didn't write it down. What was the third one?
Oh, sorry, Lynne. I don't
You remember?
Let me see. No. If not, we continue with the next questions. We have 5 more minutes, Lynne, and
Okay.
there are many practitioners from NGOs in the audience. So Melissa asks, what is your current vision on the fundraisers' role and how to empower them? And we have another question here. Which is the best way to start developing philanthropy? And how do you translate, this is quite a complicated. How do you translate this money philosophy to governments?
Oh, good. Well, that developing philanthropy was the third question we had before. So I'll answer that. Okay. So I'll
Great.
start with NGOs. Let me just say, for me, those of you who are fundraisers for the non-governmental organizations that you're part of, God bless you. You have the most important job in the organization, and I think the most important job in the world. A great fundraiser is someone who does the sacred work of reallocating financial resources away from fear and towards love. God bless you. And I think your role is vital, and you need to make it vital by recognizing yourself that you're not twisting people's arms, you're not manipulating people, you're actually lifting people's veil of discouragement, you're lifting the veil of thinking that things are hopeless, you're lifting the veil that has people think they can't make a difference, and you're speaking straight to their heart. There's not anyone alive today who doesn't want to give once they're in touch with it. And your job is to get through to them in a way that they rediscover who they are. There's nothing more important in the world today than moving money towards the highest good. There's nothing more important today than reconnecting people with their longing to serve, to give, to love. So your role is transformational. You're a minister, you're a therapist, you're a savior, you're an angel. Martin Luther King, Mahatma Gandhi, Chico Mendes, all the great people we admire were fundraisers too. Mother Teresa was a fundraiser. I saw her do it. So anybody who's ever made a difference on this planet had to raise the money to do it. And it's not drudgery, it's an honor. It's a privilege to invite people to be with people in a way that they rediscover who they are. So thank you for that wonderful question. And then how to develop philanthropy as an individual is to just start, give. And look, people ask me, do I need to do all kinds of research? Do I need to do due diligence? Well, that doesn't hurt, but I don't think you need to start there. Listen to your heart. What moves you? Who touches your heart? Who, not that you feel sorry for, but who you're moved by, who inspires you? What organizations, what leaders just make you come close to tears? That's something that is a perfect match for you. It's easy to begin because it's all about love. Philanthropy in English and probably in Spanish, the root of that is love of humankind. Just get in touch with what you love and what moves you and move your money in that direction. That's how to start. And then with governments are challenging. Governments are co-opted by money. In my country, we have a democracy here that's supposed to be about we the people. That's a phrase from our Constitution, from our preamble, we the people. Our government has become we the money, we the money. And my point of view is that we need to do everything we can to get money out of politics and out of the hands of people who are trying to get elected, and that we need to do it in a completely different way. We need to amend and change our governing structures so that money doesn't run them, but people do. In the meantime, go to your government and demand that they take care of the least of those, that they take care of the people who need help the most. Demand that your government tax people who have way more than they need, and make sure that money is distributed to people who have very, very little. That's really the first step, the step we can take now, and then to keep working to get money out of politics so that it's about the voice of the people, not the voice of the pesos or the voice of the dollars.
Thank you very much, Lynne. Unfortunately, we run out of time, but we truly appreciate your time and insights, and it has been such a pleasure to have you here with us. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much. I love Mexico. I love every encounter I've had with your country and people who are of Mexican descent. I'm grateful that you have asked me to be part of this. I'm grateful for your organization and the work you're doing this week. And may I once again invite all of you to double down, triple down on your generosity. That will not only fulfill the dreams that so many people have that can't be fulfilled without financial resources, and it will fulfill your dream for your company, for your life, for your family, for your heart, for your soul. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be with you.
Thank you, Lynne. Thank you very much.
Hemos terminado nuestra primera sesión de la semana del Premio Nacional Monte de Piedad 2020. Muchas gracias a todos por acompañarnos. Los invitamos a que se conecten el día de mañana a las 10 de la mañana para escuchar a Rita Segato, ya que nos acompañen el viernes en la sesión de entrega del Premio Nacional Monte de Piedad. Muchas gracias de nueva cuenta a Emilio Puertas por la interpretación del lenguaje de señas. Buenas tardes y hasta mañana.